right. What was originally supposed to happen this morning is I was going to start at 8 something because I set my alarm for 8 o'clock, and my alarm did wake me at 8, but I just felt so tired because I mentioned before that I tend to go to sleep probably at 1 or 2 in the morning, um, sometimes with some naps during the day. And one of the reasons for that is because uh, it's just not easy for me to go to sleep early, but also. Um, the assumption I had was okay, I slept earlier, so that's like some of the hour. It's like sleeping in shifts. So I went back to sleep and then I woke up around the latter part of the hour, then rushed up here. So I'm very disappointed with myself. I tried to make it. Well, we're on time. I mean, we start the usual time to start is 10, and we're it's 9 something now, but you get the idea that I wanted to start early. I wasn't able to. I'm still laughing at about the peace summit and how I told the relative that was I guess calling himself trying to moderate it that nobody reads anymore, and they responded by showing me the stuff that they were reading, and I was like, okay, I didn't mean this in a literal sense of no one picks up a book at this point. It's just the if you I mean come on, if you look at the sales of books compared to something like a music album or movies, they fail. They're doing worse than anything that involves a visual or audio element. So it's just one of those things where people are they I don't know. I feel like they try to misrepresent what I'm saying a lot, or they like purposely don't. They're like obtuse or whatever. Like I don't get this. What do you mean? It's like, I mean what I say. I mean that people do not read anymore, and like in general, they don't read. Some people read news articles, right? But like an actual full novel, no. And I'm not even saying that to besmirch people. I'm just saying that I don't know anyone literally besides myself that reads. I remember this one person, me and him got the book at the same time. It was about 4 or 5 years ago, and I remember I was just like, I made it my mission. I was like, I'm gonna read through this. I'm gonna because it wasn't that long. It's like 200, 300 pages. I know for some people that's long, but I'm used to these memoirs that are like 700 or 800 pages. So it was like I don't want to call it a cakewalk, but it was doable. And I kept like telling him about what was happening in the book and just little like updates on it. And he by the time I finished it, he still hadn't even picked up and started reading it whatsoever. And I just thought that was the craziest thing because it's like, you and I got this at the same time. And again, I know people are busy with it, but as far as I know, he never started reading. Like throughout the whole several years he's had that book, he got it, put on the shelf, and never picked it up. And I've seen it happen a lot of times. People buy books, they never get around to reading them. Like I have stuff I haven't read yet, but there's always something I'm currently reading that is usually like the main reason I haven't started reading it before or reading it at that point. Which does play into like, hey, so I'll read this, but not at this time. Like I'll eventually get to it, that type of thing. Mm. Like I said, I just don't understand how people can they'll buy a book and not even like just not read any of it. Just it just sits there. I mentioned before that when Michelle put out her memoir, I think yeah, Becoming, someone that lived at my old house, I don't know who it was, but somebody bought the book and for 3 years it sat in the front of the house on like I think it was the like table or something, just completely untouched. Just it would just sit there. No, I never saw one person out of the three other adults that were there. I never saw one person pick that thing up and read it. Not once. And again, like at that point, I'm like, what is the purpose of that? Like, why buy something that you're not going to read? And it's like you're not even going to pretend to feign interest in. Like, oh look, I have this book. So people are just weird to me. Again, I have stuff I haven't read yet, but the difference is I'm actually trying to get through the things I'm currently reading and then get to that. Um, Plus my intake of books, like how many I get, has waned considerably since the start of the year. Like I'd say the peak was probably February, March, and then after that, just kind of because again, I'm actually realistically trying to go through all of these. So I I'm just not I like I said I don't understand people that they'll buy a book and it'll just sit at their house forever and ever collecting dust. Like I'll admit it's harder to go back to a book after you finish reading it. But for me, that's usually because I have so many other ones I've never read before that I'm trying to, I guess, experience for the first time. But uh, some people, like, again, they'll get a book, maybe they'll read the first chapter, or in some cases, none of it whatsoever. I think it's so funny how there's like hundreds and hundreds of novels, and people have no like idea about any of this stuff. Like they've never read any of it, they don't know anything about any of it, they're just like whatever. um what was I gonna say? I'm still laughing at the guy that showed up on that one street, and I'll talk about him later probably. Only thing I'll say is I think it's really funny to try and pretend that like a movie uh is this extremely important cultural thing that everyone should see and is like so essential to viewing, but then you're completely fine with skipping over highly influential novels. I swear that guy was just like I it what's so funny is the idea of someone telling you that something doesn't matter, but then the way they react to it is showing that it does to them. Um, like I said, there's plenty of people who come online and they do videos where they say, "This is my first time seeing this film or this show or whatever," and it's like I don't, you know, you're not gonna see me tell them, "Oh, you are late to this thing that came out before you were born" or whatever. Like it's stupid. I've already said before, people online have a lot of like weird quirks, just the way that they act and the way they choose to engage somebody. Even if they don't call themselves trying to be hostile, they still respond to stuff in ways that I don't quite understand. Like just it's just really weird. So that's always been at the fixture, like a fixture of just why I don't really associate with them. They're a very bizarre group. They say some out of line stuff. God, being in so many different, like just being on Twitter, for example, like I see a lot of fandoms where there's people who are like, I just saw the MCU for the first time 2 years ago, or someone who's like, "Oh, I just read this for the first," I mean, you know what I'm saying? There's all I just feel like when it comes to entertainment, I don't know, maybe I'm just crazy for thinking this, but I feel as if as someone who likes a particular work or thinks something is important for whatever reason, whether I think it's historically important. Of course, I almost would never say that about a film, but whatever. I would be more content with someone, giving it a chance or viewing it for the first time many years after it's been released versus being upset that they just saw it, for the first time many years out. Like, it's just it's weird the way people are. Like, it's not even enough to just like the same thing that they do. You have to like have the same experience. You have to have seen it when you were a kid. You have to, you know, have watched it on whatever website they saw it on. It's crazy. Because that's really about. Like, someone has a different experience with something than you do. So if it doesn't line up with yours, you take issue with it, even though you should be fine with their different experience because we don't all digest things in the same way. Oh man, those guys on the internet, I don't know what to do with them. They're just a really strange set of people. They say things that don't make sense. They come on here and pretend like they're these big experts on any given topic, right? They're giving all this advice that nobody asked for. And then most of the time their own life doesn't even correspond with the advice they're giving. That was something else we talked about. How, like, every, it's almost as if in every instance where they start spouting off advice, it's not even like the people who say, "I think you should do this." Like, the people who call themselves like, "You should do that." I swear it's like every instance there's no proof that they've done what they're telling you to do, and in a lot of cases they actively are against whatever they're telling you to do. Like, their own the own example the examples they give of their own life are contradicting of what they tell you to do. Mm. You should move to this other state and get a degree in dentistry. It's like, okay, says the guy who lives with his parents. That's not even me insulting him, that's him admitting that he lives with his parents. So, like, what how do you even know if this is going to work? I really do wonder where these people pop up out of. Like, it's always someone I've never seen before that comes and starts writing that weird stuff. You always wonder, is YouTube like, do they have a Arkham Asylum setting where all the crazy people get sent like a recommendation of me by the algorithm? That's what it feels like. You have a problem with people disagreeing with you. It's like, yeah, if it's something that has nothing to do with them, it's none of their business, and it's not their place to try to tell me what to do about it. Really, the only reason they give their supposed advice is just to try and make themselves, sound so intelligent, and also because all most people online can do for, especially if you're a guy, is just run their mouth like, "Oh, you should do this. Let me point my finger. Let me wag my finger." So yeah, that's the biggest reason they go around doing that. This person parked. I know I parked as close to the curb part as I could. This other person parked like right by. I think they parked over the line. I don't think their door should be as close as it is. Like, I could get out, but they're that's I don't know. I'm looking at that. It's like that's crazy. I don't think they should be that close to each other. Yeah, I was gonna come up here and I thought about getting something, but I decided not to because my stomach's already kind of acting a little uh not fun for reasons that I can guess because I had something late last night. And what tends to happen is when you initially eat it, you're fine. Then when you wake up in the morning or that's like at some later point in the day, it could be 9 in the morning, 11 in the morning, 12, some like midway hour through the day, your stomach starts to rattle and rumble. And it's not out of hunger. It's like like a gas coming on, that type of thing. Mm. So yeah, I probably will avoid getting anything from here until maybe next Saturday, and even then, I still might not. Yeah, it's been a really aggravating 6 months, I tell you. God, I swear, like the stuff people try to convince you of is so funny. Because at the center of all of it is an indifference that they know that if they callously admit, "Hey, I don't care what happens to you, get lost," like the way it comes off internally to them is they're, a bad person or otherwise, just show like if they speak in a way that's reflective of their actual true nature, um, it will be something that is not gratifying in the sense of making them feel as if they have a moral authority over another person. Even if it's actually what they are, which is just someone who doesn't care. So they have to like sit here and pretend that they do and, swear all up and down, oh, I want this to happen for you and I'm invested in your growth, as one computer clown said at a point. And it's like, again, who are you fooling? They're just as useless as a lot of these relatives in real life that will tell you that they care about you, right? Care, but then they do nothing to assist you in anything. If it's something that's non-costly, like helping you get a job, they can't be bothered to help to assist you with that at all in any capacity. And the one time that they try to show up and pretend like they care, which was only after you get a job with somewhere else, uh, they're too lazy to finish their own part of what they're trying to do, which is I still think that was crazy. Like how do you sit there and be completely fine with trashing someone for 3 years because they're unemployed? And then after they start working with somebody else, oh, I'm gonna help you get a job with this. It's like, again, where were you before this year? Where were you in hibernation? Like what the hell? And again, these people really think they're slick. Like we don't remember their indifference, their intolerance, all the nasty stuff they whispered and said aloud. Give me a break. That's why when I did my triangle scam video, I was showing how you had this guy who, in every situation, it doesn't even matter if it's a romantic one. Just like anything you tell that this guy is like privy to, it's your fault. Oh, you should be mindful of this. You should have done that. And I said, okay, what is the purpose of engaging in a dialogue with someone whose default position, regardless of whether they can admit the validity of your points, is it's your fault or you should have done this, that, or the other? Like, what is the purpose of that? What is the point of speaking to someone who, even if they admit you did not do the thing that caused this to happen. Oh, but maybe you could have done this, or maybe you should have been more mindful. Like, what is the purpose of that? I've asked before, who wants to speak to someone whose default position is you're to blame. Let me nail you to a cross. They probably think all their trash talking helped you get a job. They sound like the type of people who bully people and call it tough to feign moral righteousness. Well, I called them out on it. I said, when I was drowning for 3 years with no job, all they did was sit there and talk trash about me. He's lazy. He doesn't want to work. So that's why me and that person have no relationship. I have not spoken to them literally since the start of the year. Good riddance. Like, just useless, man. And like I said, you can have stuff that costs people nothing other than their time and like a tiny bit of actual concern, and they still won't do it. You don't know how many relatives I don't speak to anymore. Not because you asked them to give you food or money or any material thing. You literally will ask them to do a phone call with you, and they won't even they you every time you call them, they don't even pick up. And you'll sit there and you'll say to yourself, "Look, I get it. You can't speak to somebody every day, whatever, but every week you get called multiple times and you just never pick up, and you don't think that's weird. You're just so damn busy to where you can never speak to me." And again, this isn't some stupid woman I'm trying to talk to, or some random bimbo who we know doesn't care. It's like, this is a relative who claims you're one of their supposed favorite people that they love, but they sure hate answering their phone. So that's why with all the ones that did that, I stopped calling them. I said, forget it. Again, nobody has time to just sit here and keep calling somebody and then they never answer. It's too many lies have been told, man. I'm telling you. Too many people sit around trying to wag their finger. I just realized the sun is out. It was really cloudy over the weekend. But yeah, I probably I don't know. There's a lot of people saying stuff, and I don't believe any of it, man. Like, it's all lies. And again, I guess what bothers me the most is the fake concern, like the what do you call it? What's the term? You said moral righteousness. There's another term for it. It's something to the effect of I don't want to call it concern trolling, but there's another term for it. I can't remember what it is though, but it's that same thing of, let me pretend to care about this person as like a means of either making them believe I'm writing something in their best interest or in good faith. But in reality, I really couldn't care less about, them at all. And it's very obvious that this is the way they are. I mean, look at the way they act. Look at their behavior. Like, how many times are we going to sit here and be convinced of something that is obviously not true? Must talk to person that doesn't care about me but pretends to. And there are so many people online like that, man. Like, I really am. For a final edited romance video, at least for this year, I was thinking of doing one where it's just talking about these people and how they come around and because I did the like women don't care about you. We need to do a men don't care about you one as well. Because I keep trying to explain these relationships, be they with relatives in real life or these people that come in a stream or leave some comment on a video, none of it's real. It's not. It's all just hocus pocus. Like it's it's a fraud. I said my video relationships are based on fraud. I'm not just talking about romantic ones. A lot of these computer ones where people are coming here telling you do this, do that. They don't care. They're just there to bark orders. Like it's not none of it is actually in a desire to see you do well. And we know it's not because we've seen them do that same thing where after something doesn't work out the way that they said they would, rather than going, okay, well, there's something wrong with these chicks, they go, well, you must have done this because it's always your fault. That's why I said the ultimate vindication of like why I think there's something wrong with these people was having that one broad talk about I believe you would prematurely cut off just that nonsense where she has no evidence of this, no basis to believe this. The bastard herself got spoken to for like 9 or 10 months, but because her thing is ending, then she has to try to like stick me on the way out. It's stupid. That's why I said, man, relationships are just they are. I don't see where any of the ones online or any of the ones with these chicks are doing men any favors. I really don't. I told you it's always funny thinking about all the attempts to sit here and try to like blow smoke up your behind, be like, oh, you will meet this person that's so perfect, and it's kind of funny because I remember one of the things they said about I words, or just I guess men that people like make fun of for being single and complaining about it. Because if you're a woman, you're allowed to complain about being by yourself, but if you're a guy, shut up, lie down and be oppressed. But what was really funny is they actually in a sort of Akatsuki merch, I think you know what I'm talking about. When they start promising this magic woman, they actually are confirming that they believe like okay, so they try to say that uh men are entitled, they think they're old women, right? But by saying that you are destined to find this perfect, terrific broad, they're actually admitting that they believe that you are entitled to a woman, even if it's one that doesn't exist and that they're just making up to try to get you to keep jumping through all these hoops for their, this nonsensical goal of appealing to a bunch of bastards that don't care about you. But you get my point that like by promising you one again when there's no evidence to believe one will ever manifest, they are admitting that they do think you are owed one or that one is just going to you know what I'm talking about, right? Like they try to say that we think we're owed something, which is really stupid because nobody who believes they're owed something would go out and try and ask out that many different damn chicks. But it's like you can't like they're trying to tell you that you're wrong for thinking you're owed something while also telling you that you're owed a woman at some eventual later stage of life. It's just really funny when you think about it. Like that's why I said that like they are the biggest hypocrites and sideshow characters ever. Just nobody owes you anything, but don't worry, there is a woman who is waiting for you in 2030. Man, at least with some of the trolls where they're like, be prepared to die alone or whatever. At least with them, they're honest about, yeah, this has been the same every year. You're not going to get anything better. Just abandon all hope. Like at least they have like a reason for like an actual pattern you can look at and go, okay, this is going nowhere. But a lot of these people online, they start doing that cheerleader stuff, and I roll my eyes. Like I can't tell you how many people I just want to stop speaking to over them trying to weigh in on this and saying something dumb. And again, it's like nobody asked for their advice, for their opinion. It doesn't matter. We don't care. But here they are giving it anyway. I'm not even joking. If I ever did write another book, I might not even actually put it up on any website like Amazon or something. I might probably just have it as like a thing I read. Like I do a video for each chapter where it's just me reading it. Because my thing is like I have again my expectations for people's attention spans is very limited. Uh so I probably would just go in the format of okay, let me read what happens in this and then people can, if enough of them watch this, then I'll put it up in some format where they can get it. I'd rather do it that way because again, like it at least at that point, there's like a desire for it. It's not just this thing you throw out there and they expect people to go and find somehow. Oh man, they have a Haley for president Tumblr. Wow, I must rush and go and get it now. I looked on that site. They said something about 4 to 8 weeks for shipping. I was like, man, that thing's not going to come until August. If I order, like you talk about 8 weeks just to get that little thing. I said before that the merchandise for these candidates is way too expensive. Like I've seen jackets on their little different campaign sites going for $70. Um, I've seen hats going for like 40. The only thing I would really probably want would most likely be the Williamson hat. Like she has a hat on her site, but it's sold out, so I can't get it. It's like damn. And then I remember I was on I think he has a whole site for campaign stuff, but on that site it's like the MAGA hat or MAGA whatever you want to call it, that hat's like $50. Like you guys can keep your stuff. It's too costly for me. Like personally, a jacket at 50, 60 I can deal with. When it starts getting closer to 100, then that I kind of start tuning out. Um and then the other issue is that sometimes when you're talking about, for example, a lot of these like hats, they come too small or they don't have any way to adjust it. And again, it's like that's what bothers me because I don't know how big this stuff is, and they want me to just go and get it. So I'll probably not be engaging with any of that stuff. And the prices on these on this attire is amazing to me. Like I might donate to some of these people by giving them $2 or $5, and then they'll be like, "Oh, you want some merchandise for my store? Time to break out your card. Here's 20 for a mug and 30 for a hat and 50 for I don't know, no, not even 50. It's like 70 for a jacket. Like, oh man, People are so weird, I tell you. Just the way that they price stuff, and like the way it's supposed to be compensated. It's strange to me. It is always interesting going to these places and seeing what stuff is out of stock, and then like refreshing over and over to try and get it. Well, I told you we're in an era where things that used to be simple have become extremely difficult and almost impossible to do. Um, Sometimes because of our own intentions, and other times because that's just the way things are set up to be at this point. So, for example, um, you never heard of like men that like I'm talking about like I said before, there was no such thing as whole groups of guys that found it so difficult to just get a date that they like all congregated together and formed a team. That didn't exist 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. It wasn't a thing. When the internet came around, it let all these different chicks that really are not special pretend that they are and have like 10, 20, 30 guys trying to ask them out at once. That's when, the inflated ego era started. And now you can't even, I'm not even joking. You could have a woman who is 300 pounds and works at like a fast food place and has like kids with with either some guy or multiple different guys. And if she gets online, she'll have like 5 or 10 different men trying to say hi to her. I'm not even saying to be funny, because I said before, men don't have any standards. All that stuff about, oh, you're dating out of your league. It's like no, the internet made it to where every woman is out of your league. Every woman, uh, where again, like regardless of whether you think you personally think they're attractive or not, can come on here, and after a few days and after a few images, not even risque pictures, just pictures of herself normal, can have several to even larger numbers of that men trying to speak to her. I told you all those romance guys, they never want to address the women's many, many options. They never will talk about that. You will never hear a single one of those bastards go, "Yeah, it is hard to get someone to be interested in you specifically when she's talking to 10, 20, 30 guys." They will never admit that. You think I'm kidding? They will tell you all this advice about wear this, go to the gym, have this amount of money, all this stupid stuff. But you will never hear a single one of them mention women's many, many options. You will never hear it. It doesn't matter what year it is, doesn't matter how painfully obvious it is to those of us who actually went like experienced this and got sick of it. You will never hear a single one of them say a word about it. They will act like it doesn't even exist. You think I'm kidding, man? They won't say anything. They'll be like, "What are you talking about?" I told you, it's also interesting just seeing women in real life. Uh, just the way they act, like as far as what types of opinions they have on someone's. Like, I mentioned before that like when the last job I had this female manager, and she asked me if I had a girlfriend, and I said no. And I was just thinking like, why do you need to know this? Um, and then when I was and I didn't mention like she assumed I was like I just didn't want one. That was the reason I was by myself, and it was just like, no, this is. I didn't even bother explaining to her because again, why bother? But I was thinking about how when I went to this market and they had these people that were like doing internet promotion in there, and the one lady asked me if I paid the bill every month with my wife or girlfriend, and I was just like, man, you guys know how far off you are. But it's funny because it's like they really believe that if you're, by yourself, um, it's like you choose to be, or you're if they see you, your partner just isn't with. It's like no, they don't. That person doesn't exist. But again, they don't know that because they have no idea of just how far reaching this stuff has been. You know how impossible it is to just get any of this stuff to ever be any different. Like for them, they really do live in this version of reality where this stuff isn't a big deal or isn't happening like at all because it doesn't affect them. They'll never know what it's like to sit there and try to talk to somebody and then they're speaking to 10, 15, 20 other people, or you send them a message on Friday and then that you still haven't heard anything back by Tuesday, and that you know that they're online because they're posting stuff every day, but they can't be damned to go into their DM or whatever and say anything to you. I mean, they just will never know what that's like. They will never know how that feels. I was on one of those sites a few days ago. I had a woman I spoke to, and again, I swear it's not romantic, but it's just I'm just using an example I'm talking about because I said before, famous chicks, if they don't respond to me, I'm perfectly fine with that. I get it; they're busy, whatever. I wouldn't even expect them to respond. Is my point. But it's like here you have this random broad who is, like a lot of people, following more people than are following her. And it's like every day she comes on Twitter or Insta Garbage or one of these other sites. Again, it's because it's all the same thing, really. But, she goes on one of these sites and posts several times a day, like very clearly not busy. Okay. That's not something you do if you're just like so caught up in school and work, whatever. But it's like that person sits on that site every day, sometimes all day long, from like in the morning up until the night, posting 10, 20, 30 times in one. And it's like, that's the person that can't reply to you, that can't say hello to you. Really? But that's why I said that talking to regular women is like talking to famous women, because even the ones that no one's ever heard of act like they're celebrities, act like they're too good to speak to you, act like they're too busy to speak to you. It's one or the other. They're too good or they're too busy. Both of which are BS anyway, but regardless, my point is they if you sit here and you like sometimes I'll be online and there will be somebody I'm following or whatever. I'll just go to her profile and I'll look and see. I'll go, okay, how much stuff has been posted in the last 24 hours? And you'll see, I'm not joking, sometimes 5 posts, sometimes 10 posts, sometimes 20, 30. And this same person, you'll go and you look at your messages with them. They said hi to you last week. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, what are they doing? Like, but again, they don't care. They're not interested in talking to you. They were for like 5 seconds before, throwing you away. That's why I said anytime I speak to one of them, I always try to make it as that's a good way of putting it. I go out of my way at this point to try and limit the number of interactions that I have with them. Like if it's not something related to work or another project based thing that I'm trying to make, I just want nothing to do with them at this point because there's just too many lies. And again, it's all fake. Like, really, at this point, the only thing in real life that, or the only thing that, like, I would say is entirely real is maybe hunger and having to pay, rent somewhere to stay. But like all the other stuff is a joke. Like these these sites are jokes. Like the way that people act on them and the stuff that they selectively have a problem with. Um, I mean, we didn't have to mention the chicks being jokes. Everybody knows that. But these jobs are jokes where they go and say they want to hire somebody and then they put up 90 roadblocks to make it to where you can't even work for them until several weeks have passed, if not even more than that. It's all just a big gag. Like none of it feels like it's anything. I'm not joking. When I go to interviews now and I sit down in that room and they start asking me all these questions, I'm just thinking to myself, do they really do they really think I believe that they're gonna keep me and hire me and try to make it to where I have a steady income? No, because we know that's not what they care about. But again, it's like so many places try to do this thing where they want you to believe in something, like to believe in them, to look at their business as like a thing to get invested in, but I can't. And yeah, I go and when I work somewhere, I always try to do what I feel is my you know full attempt at working there and learning the stuff and whatnot. But as far as like, do I really believe this is going to be this amazing position and I work here for years and I get along with my coworkers and we all assist each other? No, because they're again, everything is search and destroy. It's not building somebody up. It's just like when I was at the summit. What is that now? 3 weeks ago. It could be either 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's been several weeks, but when I went to that summit, I had casually made mention of the fact that there was a relative who had passed that had like left this great absence in my life, and they weren't the only one, but one of several. Like I guess the first of several. Um, and the mediating relative was like, "Hey, you should try to do something, and we can, may have you tried talking to this, or have you tried?" And I'm just thinking to myself, do they really not get that there are some losses you can't recover from? And I do believe that. I've said that before. Like I don't try to sugarcoat depression or any type of feelings that a person might have with regard to something like that. I don't like you have some people who when their kid dies they again they go into a hopeless state. And it's like, yeah, they might still be able to go to work and perform all their other daily functions, but they still feel that absence. They still believe it was like this short term thing that just quickly happened that shouldn't have happened. Of course, I'm not trying to compare the two, but I'm just saying that if someone very close to you suddenly is no longer there, there is no oftentimes way to circumvent it or to just get over it. But again, it's like people have these definitions that are just sort of like all over the place where uh moving on for some people is just you know performing your basic functions, which I do, and then other people will say you haven't like fully moved on if you still are sad about it or mention it or whatever. Again, it's my thing is I believe, and I say this with complete sincerity, I think there are some losses that you just can't recover from. I believe that, and I know it's all so depressing, but I think it's true that there's just some stuff that there is no no way out of. So when I have someone who's telling me, "Oh, what can we do?" I said to him, "I don't know." And I really wish they wouldn't have pretended that there was a solution to that, because again, I believe with sometimes when these things happen, there is none. When you talk to somebody every day or you live with them, or it's you can't just have that relationship suddenly severed or no longer there and be expected to keep just acting like business as usual, just oh whatever. So that's why I said people just don't understand stuff. They make a bad habit out of trying to pretend that they get things they don't. Man, I wish Akatsuki Merchant was still here. He vanished. He decided to retire for the morning. I already said this whole day already is starting off kind of because you've got multiple people over there, which is going to make me not be as interested in being there as I would if it were just me. Um, I doing a stream an hour later than I had planned because I my alarm woke me up, but I went back to sleep because I was just too tired. So it's just a very unfortunate series of events. Yeah, I mentioned before that one of my other frustrations is with a lot of these jobs they don't really understand the weight of what they're asking you to do. Like I said before, gas is very expensive. Uh, it used to be where it was like every 2 weeks I'd have to fill up. Now it feels like it's every like 5 or 6 days. Like gas is just again, it's awful. But it's like on top of that, you have a lot of these places that are either far away, right, an hour away, 2 hours away, or they're what's the other part of it? They want you to do a job that entails like driving around. Like I've mentioned before, that the one I was trying to do wanted me to drive to people's places, and I'm like, and I'm not even saying this to be funny, but when you have a job that's hiring you not full time, right, part time, like crunch these numbers for me, 19.50 an hour, and it's about $50 to $60 for a full tank for a full like tank of gas, which means that you could work for a full day and then like 3/4 of your check are eaten up by the gas if you're trying to fill up your tank. Oh, we compensate you per mile or some kind of crap. I was like, yeah, whatever, guys. It's not enough. But see, again, I'm gonna say this one more time. I wouldn't have a problem with driving to places, if they actually hired me full time, because then whatever I make can be supplemented by what I'm talking about. It's just then the numbers would be a lot more tenable. But because that job wants to do the same thing all these other stupid ones want to do, which is, I swear, it's like you either don't get hired, or if you do get hired, it's like BS. Oh, yeah, you were gonna have you work for us, but only for 4 hours a day, or 5 hours a day, or 6 hours a day, and then it's like 4 days a week. Again, who can live off of this crap? I can't. But do any of them sit back and go, "Oh man, how's he gonna afford a place to live if we're not even giving him 40 hours a week like any normal job should?" They don't care. It doesn't bother them. It doesn't matter to them. Like I said, you had that bimbo receptionist giggling and laughing on the phone with me. You think that bastard has to worry about only getting 20 hours a week? That's what I said. I'm tired of these companies, man. I'm tired of them and their refusal to just give someone actual working hours. Like the next time I apply somewhere and it says part time, I'm not even going. I will literally just hang up the phone right there. I'm tired of this. Told you, you can ask for the simplest things and not receive them. You could ask for a regular job, and like the only stipulation is 40 hours a week. That's the only thing you want, right? And you just can't have it. That's why I said this stuff is so irritating. Like I'm so tired of it. It's extremely obnoxious. It's stupid. God. Some notification an hour ago. I swear Amazon is so weird. Sometimes you'll order something, it'll come at like 11 or 12 in the afternoon. And then other times it'll come at like 5 or 6 in the evening. It's just so annoying because, as I mentioned before, they act like people don't have anything better to do. But just, like, that's why I like the locker so much. They stick it in somewhere. You get a passcode, and then you can get it. If you don't have the passcode, you can't get it. But I like that it's put somewhere where you can come and pick it up whenever you like over those 3 days. That's very preferable to me over this other stuff. I have to admit. No, these places are just so irritating. I don't know. I've said before that in a lot of instances, I just don't feel satisfied with things. You know, and I feel like I do a decent job of at least explaining why that's the case. But like I said, it's hard to see things being so screwed up and then still feel, I don't want to say motivated to do something about it, but just kind of like, wow, this is crazy. Like I already feel like I'm overexerting myself. Like when you apply to dozens of places in one day and then you hear nothing back, or you hear from like two of them and then they just want you part time. It's the kind of like stuff that just makes me want to tear your hair out, because you're trying, in spite of what people are saying, that you're trying, but it's not enough. So I said this whole thing is just stupid to me. Oh man, let me try and think of how many errands I have to run today. I technically only have one I really have to do, and then there's probably well, I guess two, but one's in the morning, one's later in the day. I might not even do it tomorrow because of how upsetting this whole thing is. Yeah, I'm just tired of this stuff. Yeah, somebody over here with some red hair. But yeah, I'll try to put up some other type of. I'm not gonna say it'll be this week because I haven't even started on the script for it yet. But I'll probably do one more edited video about that stuff before either the end of the month or the end of the year. I just haven't really figured out what way I want to tackle it from. Um, and then there's some other stuff I want to do as well. Again, it's a lot of it just comes down to finishing scripts. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting rest of the year, I guess. We're at the halfway mark. Um, and like I said, every time I put up with this stuff, I just kind of have that same feeling of this isn't right. Like I've actually really considered writing some kind of novel or book where there's a narrator as a like who we don't even like know what their name is, because to them it's like I don't matter, according to society I don't matter, so why should my name matter? And it would just be like this commentary on how, you know um if you're just a regular person, whether you have a request that is incredulous or just like a basic want, people don't care, so it doesn't get granted in any capacity. So I might start that. I don't know for sure or not, but yeah. Thanks for showing up, Akatsuki Merchant, and have a good rest of your Monday.